Adam is parking his car, so I will call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. If we could please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the September 22nd Committee of the Whole meeting of the Milford Board of Education. We do have a very full agenda tonight, so we will get right to it with a roll call, please.
Yeah, Megan Doyle. Here. Scott Vermender.
Here.
Nicole Flowers.
Here.
Tracy Irby.
Here.
Tom Koba.
Here.
Christina Creed.
Here.
Adam Scobie.
Here.
Mike Smith.
Here.
Cindy Wolf-Boynton.
Here.
And Susan Glennon.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you. All right, tonight we have the much anticipated, don't want to put too much pressure on you, assessment report, and turn the meeting over to Dr. Talia and Mr. Altieri.
It's all over to my colleague, Mr. Altieri.
Okay. I told him when I walked in today, I took a little quick peek at the presentation when I sat down, and I got tears in my eyes.
You want me to go get a box of tissues?
I have some.
In a good way, let's be
Good tears or
clear.
bad tears?
Wait, the public is watching. Good tears, right, Ms.
Good
Glennon?
ones, very good ones, yes.
So, good evening, members of the board. Great to see you all this evening. Tonight we have our annual update to our assessment data composite from last school year. I'm happy to share that with you tonight, as well as goals from the members of the team, many of which are seated to my left this evening. As we get into the achievement data, we are going to kind of break this down into a few different categories. We have our SBA and NGSS data, as well as our SAT, AP data, and then we'll take a look at some other metrics that we typically share with the board each fall. So what are we seeing on the state level? That's always the big one to kind of begin with. And overall, as a state, we continue to see gains, not just in the regular education subgroup, but in all subgroups in English language arts, math, and science. Chronic absenteeism numbers continue to decline on a statewide trend as well. However, we are still not back to pre-pandemic numbers from where we were prior to in achievement as a state. So we're still continuing to make gains, and each year we have seen gains on the state level as well as some of the areas that you'll see tonight, but we're still not as a state back to pre-pandemic levels. Obviously, all of our work begins with our 4 pillars. And we remain connected to everything that we do, ties to our vision of the learner, our model for high quality instruction, our equity framework, and our developmental relationships framework. And those are really the core pieces that help inform our decisions instructionally. We're going to start tonight with a look at our state assessments. Primarily first, we'll take a look at literacy and numeracy for both the Smarter Balance and the SAT. Remember that the Smarter Balance is the main measure of student achievement in literacy and numeracy for students in grades 3 through 8. And the SAT is our state level assessment in reading and writing, as well as math for students in grade 11. So we're going to start first talking about SBA. And the way that SBA is broken down is each year, students receive a scale score. And that's kind of a metric that determines the number of points that students earn on the assessment. Depending on the range of the scale score, this is broken down into achievement levels. 1 being the lowest, 4 being the highest. And we can even get some additional data. You'll notice in the 2 boxes at the bottom of the slide, we also have performance indicators. And these are aligned to different knowledge and skill sets that we embody for students in both literacy and numeracy. You'll notice for literacy, we talk about reading, writing, listening, and research and inquiry. And then in mathematics, we have concepts and procedures, problem solving and modeling, and communicating reasoning. And each of these are scored as a above standard, at or near standard, and below standard. So we're gonna get in first and talk about English language arts. So what I've prepared for you in terms of data this evening is we're gonna give you the last 3 school years. So this would be the data ending in the spring of '23, spring of '24, and then this past spring, the spring of '25. And you can see in the last 3 years for grades 3, 4, and 5 literacy in terms of achievement, we've had some pretty impressive gains. 7.5% from 24 to 25 in grade 3, 10% in grade 4, and 9% in grade 5. And overall, looking at the 3-year trends in achievement, we've gone up 13.5% in grade 3, 13.2% in grade 4, and 6.6% in grade 5. An area that we know is an area of opportunity for us is our middle school ELA. And I'll talk a little bit as we get into kind of next steps at the end of our presentation this evening, some of the things that we are working on. But largely overall, we have seen relatively static growth in grades 6 and 7. And in grade 8 this year, we did have a noticeable decrease in achievement in grade 8. When we take a look at the SAT, this has been an area of focus for us as we've looked at the rigor of our courses, both AP, ECE, as well as our literacy and numeracy at the high school level. When we talk about reading and writing, we did have a 9% increase this year in achievement on the SAT in reading and writing. And remember, when we talk about achievement in the SAT, we're talking about college and career readiness scores. So that's a 480 in literacy and a 530 in mathematics is considered the threshold for college and career readiness. The other piece, which I have not represented on here, but we are able to ascertain from the data, is we're also able, similar to SBA, we're able to see some of the skill sets that populate the SAT. And as I looked at our 24 to 25 data, we've had growth in 2 major areas. First one being expression of ideas, and the second one is what's called standard English conventions. And that's what you think of with the grammatical skills and punctuation, sort of that form and function in writing. The place that we are going to continue to work on is writer's craft and structure. Continues to be an area that we see as an opportunity for growth on the SAT in reading and writing. We're also incredibly proud of the work that has been done by Ms. Brewer and Dr. Morrow in terms of our seal of biliteracy. So this year we had 55 students that were eligible to earn the seal of biliteracy. This includes our juniors and seniors. 17 of those students are graduating with the seal of biliteracy. And again, for board members who may not remember, the seal of biliteracy is a credential that students earn for demonstrating proficiency in a second language. In order for students to receive the seal, they have to earn passing grades in their English language arts courses, and they also complete a state-approved assessment. And we'll talk a little bit about in a second a few of the measures that we use here in Milford. What I do want to point out to you is 55 students was a major increase from the number of students that tested and were eligible for the seal of biliteracy last year. I think we had 20 total, which 14 graduated as seniors with the seal. But I also want you to take a look in the fact that we had a lot of different languages represented in the seal this year. So it's not just the French, Spanish, and Latin that we offer, but we're also seeing a lot of interest for students to demonstrate their language acquisition skills in a language other than ones that we offer. And this is obviously a big goal of mine, as well as my teams and Dr. Kataya, as we want to continue to make sure that our world language offerings reflect student interests, but also what is relevant in the career fields for students who are going to speak a second language. I do want to note, in terms of our metrics too, with the world language, in grade 11, we had 62% of our students in French who are writing at the intermediate level or higher. And when we talk about intermediate is basically transactional. So students are able to use pretty simple phrases, they're able to communicate with, in conversational approaches with colleagues or peers. And then when we get into advanced, this is where students are now able to apply those language skills to unfamiliar contexts or unfamiliar settings. And what's exciting is students in grade 11, where I mentioned that 62% are writing at that intermediate or higher, 75% of those students are reading at the intermediate level or higher as well. When we talk about math, this one really reflects the work that we've done over the last few years. So in grade 3, from the 24 to 25, again, same kind of trends, 23 through 25 represented on the slide. We had a gain of 12% in achievement from school year 24. In grade 4, that was 10%, and in grade 5, 12%. And again, our 3-year trends were 27% in grade 3, 19% in grade 4, and 10% in grade 5. A lot of the work, again, goes back to work of Mr. Wakeman and Ms. Corrado as she has stepped into the role. We introduced our math look-fors across K-5 and really got into looking at not only how we empower students and the culture that we create to empower our learners, but also in terms of the content, looking at developing student agency around using the strategies in math, but also some of that academic and content level vocabulary. Middle school, we did have some gains, again, very minimal. In grade 6, an increase of 3%, grade 7, 4%, and grade 8 was 2%. And in looking at the 3-year trends, grade 6 was 9%, grade 7 was 3%, and grade 8 was 5%. So similar to ELA in middle school, we realized that we continue to have some work to do there, opportunities for us to grow. We have introduced new curriculum in both literacy and numeracy over the last few years. So it creates an opportunity for us to do some professional learning work, but also take a look at our curriculum and our instructional strategies in the classroom. And SAT and math, again, 3-year trend, we are about consistent with where we were in the spring of 23. About a 3.5% increase from last year. We're just under 40% of students achieving at college and career readiness benchmarks in the SAT and math. I do want to note that this year we were able to see a 13% increase on our algebra subsection score, which really reflects, I believe, the work that Ms. Swanson did to support our Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and geometry curriculums over the last few years. And we know that we need to continue our work on our advanced math, and we believe that we're starting to address some of those through our 4th-year math electives. That includes our Math for Liberal Arts, and we've also restructured a couple of our courses that I'll share with you in a little bit that are our 4th-year math electives. And we've also added, in terms of our problem solving and data analysis, we did this year include our SCSU ECE statistics as an opportunity for students to get more experience with the problem solving and data analysis. So while we've talked about achievement scores, that's only one part of the story. The other part that I do want to share with you, and I introduced this last year to everybody, is what we call the growth model. And I tried to give an example to illustrate this, so we'll walk through this again briefly, just to re-familiarize everybody with the kinetic growth model. So let's say in the spring of 2024, these 3 students take the SBA. And what you'll notice in column 3 is we have the scale score that each of those students earned on SBA. What the state does is it identifies what's called a growth target. And that's some number, some amount of points that they predict the student will gain in the next year of the test administration. So if you're looking at student number 1, for example, they had a scale score of 2275, and the state predicted that in 24-25, they would make 45 points of growth. And what you'll notice is, when the student took the assessment the next year, they earned a scale score of 2308, which is only 33 points of growth. So in that case, the state would say, no, the student did not meet their growth target. So when we talk about growth target, we're simply talking about assigning students a yes or a no value. The student either made their growth target or they did not. And at the end of the day, they just take all the students in that grade level and they give the percentage of students that met their growth target. What we found out was districts then said, well, that doesn't tell the whole story. We want to know as well, if a student didn't make their growth target, how much growth did they actually make? So the state introduced another metric, which is called the growth target achieved. And what this does is it actually takes a look at how much of that growth, in this case, this student made 33 of the 45%, or 33 of the 45 points, which equates to about 73% of their growth target that they actually achieved. So similar to the growth target, they take the average of all of those students, in this case, student 1, student 2, student 3, they average those numbers together, and for a grade level, they're able to determine that 79% of each target was achieved. Okay, so growth target tells us yes or no, student made the target or not. The average growth target achieved tells us how much of the target was actually met. So we try to give you values for English language arts is represented on the left, math on the right-hand side. Again, the growth rate is something that we want to continue to work on. Mr. Zenowitz and I are already talking about ways to take a look at all of our learners as a continuous team, both regular ed and special education, to make sure that our curriculum is meeting the needs of students. You'll notice that in math, grades 3 through 8, we are somewhere between about 28% and 47% of students meeting their growth target. And the numbers for the percent of the target achieved are much higher at the elementary level, about 73 to 79%, and that number does drop when they get to middle school.
In ELA, Mr. Altieri?
Yes, in ELA. Did I say math?
Can you just restate that? I lost you there.
Yep, so for growth rate, grades 3 through 8.
For ELA, okay.
Yeah, in ELA, about 28 to 47% of the growth target, students are meeting the growth target, growth rate, sorry. When we look at target achieved, again, this is the percent of how much growth target is actually met. We're between 45 and 79%. And obviously elementary school, as you're looking at grades 4 and 5, those students are meeting much higher amounts of that growth target. So we have work to do in middle school. Same thing with mathematics, a little more of where I'd like the numbers to be in terms of elementary school, going into middle school, about 57 to 64% of students who are meeting their growth targets. And then some really, really nice data in terms of grades 4 through 6, about 85% or so of the targets being met for those growth targets. So we have some areas that we want to continue to work on for middle school. The next assessment is science, and the science assessment is given in grades 5, 8, and 11. And same kind of setup, students receive a scale score, then they're also given an achievement score, 1 being the lowest, 4 being the highest. And the assessment is what they call 3-dimensional. So it looks at not only the content, but it also looks at the skills that students demonstrate as well. And it really is an application of skills, whether it's graphing or modeling or problem solving. Students apply the content to that lens. Achievement-wise, a good little bump in grade 5 this year, going up about 7%. in achievement. Grade 8 stayed consistent at about 57% of kids meeting or exceeding the goal. And same thing for grade 11, anything about a 3% increase at grade 11, but staying largely consistent in science. I mentioned to you that we have other assessments that we include too. One of them is advanced placement. This is through College Board. And we currently have, and there's a list here, I'm not gonna read it to you, but there's 25 advanced placement courses that we offer in district. And we're really excited in the fact that we've been working on our AP curriculum over the last few years, as well as training for staff with teaching advanced placement courses. And we did have a noticeable gain of about 10% this year in the number of students who are reaching the 3 or higher on the AP exams, and this is all of the courses offered cumulatively. And we're looking at about a 15% increase in our AP scores over the last 3 years. So some really good numbers there. When we look at our AP district accolades, again, this breaks out all of our AP scholars, as well as we had 6 students who earned the AP research certificate this year, and 1 student who completed the AP capstone. And we had 180 total scholars within advanced placement this year, and that was a gain of 6 students from last year. We also offer a variety of ECE courses. We have 16 concurrent enrollment courses offered through Housatonic as well as UConn. And as I mentioned to you, this year we will have additional courses from Southern Connecticut State University that we are offering for the first time. We also have 2 new courses this year that had not been offered prior, and that's the Spanish and French, ECE Spanish and French courses. And I tried to give you a little bit of a composite for our early college experience courses. I'm not sure why, but there's 2 numbers missing from the bottom. It should say 6 and 6 for Spanish and French. We had 429 students complete the ECE courses this year, compared to 336 in 23-24, so that was an increase of 93 students attempting and completing ECE coursework in the district. We also have our career clusters, and at the state level, there are 11 different career clusters, of which are depicted on this slide. And this year, or past year I should say, we offered 7 different career pathways from these clusters. And those include entrepreneurial and business management, education and training, finance, therapeutic services, computer science, marketing management, and government and public service. And these career pathways actually are derived from these career clusters. So we have course sequences, opportunities for industry standard certifications as part of that work, and we even have some aligned capstone opportunities as well. We continue to see a lot of success with our graduating classes. We had 101 students graduate with distinction this year, and 165 students graduate with honors. And that was an increase of 24 students from the class of 2024 graduating with honors. We continue to emphasize that there is no one best option for our students. We prepare our students to be ready for college, career, the military, whatever post-secondary opportunity is pertinent and prevalent to them. But we have given you a breakout of the different options that our seniors took leaving high school. 79.1% attending a 4-year college, 12.1% going to 2-year school, and then there is a breakdown of some of the other options, including career, military, and apprenticeships as well. And our students continue to amaze us. Graduating from high school, attending not only in-state schools, but you can see some of the incredible and prestigious schools that our students gain acceptance and entrance into from the class of 2025. I was even thrilled to see the Culinary Institute of America on there, since we continue to value our culinary arts and food science program. So we're looking to continue to expand upon those courses as well. Thanks to the efforts of this board, you continue to support and prioritize the fine and performing arts as part of the students' holistic educational opportunity. We had a total of 77 students district-wide last year that earned these particular honors. Dr. Paris had shared with you several of the different opportunities that are available. And for the 5th consecutive year in a row, Milford has been named a best community for education, music education. So we're continue to be proud of this recognition that very few communities in the state of Connecticut have achieved. We also have our music and art students attaining a variety of other awards, including the Milford Arts Council Endowment Scholarship, students being recognized in the SEC Annual Art Show and the Milford Arts Council Student Art Show. And our students also share their artwork through a variety of galleries, as well as other types of displays. So as we transition into the final piece of the evening, I want to share that there is work that is going to continue on from here, and want to share some of those highlights with you. In literacy, we continue to prioritize developing a cohesive pre-K to 12 English and language arts program. We are convening a summit of our middle school educators, including our instructional leaders here, to do some work around curriculum this year, as well as going into next year, thinking about literacy and numeracy. Ongoing professional learning to support emphasis on the learning progressions and thinking about the continuum of learning that our students do. In social studies, we have implementation of our 612 social studies curriculum with a focus on global perspectives and student inquiry. And we're really excited this year in elementary social studies, we have actually developed interactive read-alouds that are aligned to the new social studies model curriculum. And in world language, we continue to focus on acquisition as a lens for developing language skills in our students. And we do that through opportunities for district-wide professional learning. We had a lot of success last year and want to continue to build off of the professional learning for our world language teachers. In mathematics and science, a lot of assessment work, especially at the middle school level. Ms. Corrado has been working with our coaching team to develop standards checks that provide in-the-moment information and data to help guide instruction. And we are also going to be launching into a comprehensive program review for our elementary math curriculum starting this fall. And in science, we continue to align formative assessments to the science and engineering practices, really focused in again on not so much the content, but the skills that students apply to what they're learning in the science classroom, as well as our STEM labs in district. When we talk about early childhood, Ms. McGuire has done an incredible job at mirroring the work of our literacy curriculum, bringing Hegarty into our pre-K classrooms. Her efforts, as well as the work of our Community Connection Center to support family engagement, whether it's the Sparkler app, which we've shared with you, Little Spots, and also the Circle of Security parenting strategies. And we actually did our first HQI Learning Lab this past year at elementary, observing our intentional play in real time. In 612 STEM, we continue to look at launching new curriculum, especially our business law and ethics courses, our intro to esports, and our foundations of sports management, and expanding opportunities for students to earn industry credentials. In fine arts, library, and media, we are this year introducing the work that we did on our elementary music curriculum for general and instrumental music, and professional learning around calibration of assessments, continuing to have opportunities to look at student work with our art and music teachers. And we're excited to launch a brand new 7th grade digital literacy class this year that really focuses in on a lot of those interactive skills in with computers. And in student development and wellness, we have developed and are implementing new 6-8 health curriculum guides, as well as K-5 physical education curriculum guides this year. And with the hope and work that Ms. Akampora is going to be doing with our school counselors, launching a 5-12 student success plan scope and sequence, and refining our work around Tier 1 SEL curriculum. And as we've shared with the board in prior years, we don't believe that there is any one assessment that tells the full story about students. We believe in multiple measures as a district. Both are standardized measures. We've shared with you a lot the work of Milford Measures, which has given us opportunities to look at staff practice, student interactions within the classroom. But we also value and believe that the work that we do align to our college and career pathways, as well as post-secondary plans, tells the full story about next steps for our students. So with that being said, I'm happy to take any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Mr. Altieri. Questions from the board? Mr. Smith?
Yeah, thank you. It's really exciting to see this. And I think the question, one question, and then a comment about everything
Sure.
else. But so looking at the SAT scores, because that's one of the things that a lot of this is really impressive, but going back to SAT scores, that the graphs, right, the y-axis on the difference between the reading and writing and the math, but the percent of the students who are meeting or exceeding, right, so if we're in spring 2025 in reading and writing, 72% hit their exceeded goal, and then math was 39%. Is that that seems like a big difference? And I guess my question, so that's one question, but a part of that question is, in tracking all the grades over all those, appreciate there's something to be said about grade curriculum and increasing those scores, but also curious if you've dove down into, is there some, or we still have some kids in school who are that COVID cohort, right? And so as they're tracking and moving through, where are they in their K-12 journey now, and is that part of the explanation, or is it just a combination of different?
So I think that's a great question. I think logically, if we think back 5 years ago, those kids are through into middle school and even getting into high school at this point. So I think, as I share with you tonight with the middle school numbers, I think some of it is logically, it's new curriculum that's being implemented, and some of the implementation dip that naturally happens anytime we're building capacity of staff and students are getting used to new approaches with the curriculum. I think obviously there's some of the COVID piece in there as well. You've got students that are still rebounding from the pandemic itself. So, logically, I think some of that is part of the data as well.
Yeah, because like seeing the early grades, it's quite clear that tracks, and I just wasn't sure if that COVID cohort still needs additional resources to bring them up to what there's pre-COVID, COVID cohort, and post-COVID cohort, right? And so that one that really had a lot of challenges, is there a need to try and figure out, do we need to push more resources to them?
Mr. Smith, I would say, COVID is gonna have an impact on every single cohort if you're looking at this particular grade. So these students were juniors last spring,
Yeah.
then the end of their sixth grade year is when we sent children home for online learning.
Okay.
So if you want to backtrack that,
Yeah,
okay?
thank you.
And this is not a question that we've entertained, but yet it's causing me some on-the-spot thinking. So if you want to just throw in another data point for a minute
Yeah.
to try to track it, we know that we are grappling through middle school achievement right now. The numbers are pointing at that, right? So it just makes you wonder if this was a long problem in the making. Because if you track back to sixth grade, and we're already struggling through with some curriculum, instruction, assessment pieces in middle school, and then you layer on top a pandemic. Again, I'm just thinking right on the spot. And they did not benefit from a new curriculum and new programs. They were already in freshman year when we started rolling that out to try to course correct that. So it could be, I don't know, we're at the table trying to string together data points here.
No, and thank
So
you.
all night we could track back, so current fifth graders, well, pardon me, the fifth graders who tested in the spring, whose numbers are represented in this presentation, would have been kindergarteners, right? So
Okay,
at the end of their kindergarten year, we went into remote learning.
okay,
So if you want to do a -5 on this achievement.
awesome.
And I think too, so I like to track back, I think 22, 23 was the first,
Thank you, Ms. Glennon.
quote, normal year.
Yeah.
So that's only 3 years ago, 22, 23, 23, 24,
Well, it's 2 years
24,
from this
25.
test.
Right, 24, 25. 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25.
Thank you, yes.
So 3 years. And I think that's another piece to remember, you know,
Yeah.
it's, because they were just coming back and, so what grade were they in when they, in 22, 23, and what?
A third.
So different, you know,
Yeah.
for everyone, what grade were they in? Because-
Right. No, thank you, and that helps wrap my brain around kind of the data and understanding it all. And the other thing I just wanted to say is I really appreciate the increase in AP course offerings as someone who, more decades ago than I care to actually contemplate at the moment, was a beneficiary of our public school AP courses. Because of the good teachers here, I was able to get 2 4s of on the test in bio and economics. And because of the AP credit I got at foreign high, when I had to take fall semester off senior year in college to undergo cancer treatment, those 2 courses got me enough to walk at graduation the following spring. So it's just one of those really cool things that I just want to voice my appreciation for, and make sure folks in the audience also know that is one of the cool things that hopefully you never need it in an experience like mine, but it is one of those things definitely as we have been doing, encouraging kids to take it because it shows that you can do stuff and sometimes you get credit that saves you later.
Well, and even that, I know kids who have graduated in 3.5 years from
Yeah.
NYU. So
Yeah.
their parents are saving a whole half a semester of a very big tuition bill because of Milford Public Schools AP classes. And we are still offering, we still don't have any ceiling on who can take them, correct? So anybody that
No.
wants to take a class,
Yeah.
an AP class is encouraged to do so.
Our school counselors are absolutely pushing kids to challenge themselves all the time, so. And we're continuing to think about our offerings and add new offerings every year and really explore expanding those partnerships with local universities.
Ms. Doyle?
Thank you. It's really great to see all these numbers and seeing I think it'll be really interesting to see next year what the 5th graders do in 6th grade and see what that jump is, where we can see and what that is, because that I think will be a little bit indicative of how they moved along and where that drop is in middle school, whether there's a true drop or it's a pandemic drop, which I don't think we can really differentiate at this moment here. But it's really positive to see. I'm going to slide 17, just as easy for anyone who wants to see. I think we discussed this last year, but I don't remember it specifically. How does the state make up this target growth? I mean, what's their metric? What's their, what factors do they use? They just pull it out of a hat? Because how do they come up with that number?
It's a great question. A lot of it is, it's computer generated in terms of what they've seen for past trends of students who achieve the same vertical scale score, what they've done on tests the subsequent year. So it's a metric that they apply, that's an estimate of what they would predict for that student to.
So they would basically track the student through each year of each assessment they have throughout their time at Connecticut Public Schools. And so they would say, Megan Doyle has taken SBA in 3rd grade and 5th grade in these, and we'll look back at what the various opportunities are and see where across the district is as well?
No, so you are given each year, you're assigned, so Megan Doyle coming out of 3rd grade will get a target score for the following year. You take it in 4th grade, based on where you achieve there, they'll apply
Okay,
a score there as well. So they don't look backwards on how you've done over time, it's all
Okay.
based on
and so
your
this-
achievement on that
that
particular.
specific exam, and so they're gonna break it down almost like in literacy, there are 5 sub-targets within it, and they might look at those and things like that. So some proprietary something or other that comes out.
Yeah, Cambium, who produces the assessment, it's given nationally in multiple states, so I think they have a data pools subset that they look at to assign a metric to those growth targets.
Okay, so it's, I understand why we do it, I get the purpose, it's sometimes arbitrary still regardless, is like, we've also discussed that there is only so much room that certain students are going to achieve. That their student 1, in this example, a 2308, maybe the score where they're generally going to understand. They are going to be their max. I mean, it's, sometimes I think these numbers are a little bit difficult to always remove from reality. So in that way, I think it's great that we have done as well as we have. So I think that's really inspiring, and continue to look at how these numbers have moved across the years. Sorry, the other question is going back to that math score on the 11th grade. What, do you know what, if you have it, it's not necessary for you to get that number, before pre-pandemic where we were?
I have to look back and see. I don't recall just off of memory.
I know that we've had ongoing discussion about how we have created consistency across the district and having the same opportunities for students and the same coursework. And I think it would be interesting, that doesn't need to be provided at this moment, or if you can't find it.
Yeah, we can get that for you. That's an easy number to
Right,
pull.
to see that increasing, I think we can see directly at the elementary school, we have 8 different schools. There's our 8 different teachers, 8 different personalities who are running in our school. So the fact that our students are doing so well is a real testament to the work that's been done. So I appreciate all the work that's been done in curriculum and focusing back on what we need to do. And it's not about working towards a test, it's giving the kids what they need to do. We've seen the videos of the kids reading, which is really exciting, so.
Yeah,
Ms. Doyle, I have that number.
Yeah,
2019, it was 45.
okay, so, not great, even in before pandemic. So there's a lot of room for us to go, and that coincides with the discussions we've been having about consistency across the district in the curriculum development.
I'm hoping what we'll start to see trending is like a wave of improvement that goes, you know, we've seen the big bump in elementary.
Yeah,
I'd like to call it that.
yeah, and continuing across the board.
And that hopefully that wave will rise into middle. We have a few things to figure out at the middle school.
Great,
That's our hope.
To-
2 more
just to
years.
Piggyback off of that, in grade 11, so they would have had several years options of taking different math courses, is that correct? I'm not
Yes.
sure, I don't know off the top of my head what the options are for math in high school.
I mean, your standards are Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and then students can take pre-calc, calc, stats.
So when they're being tested in grade 11, they might not necessarily all have had the same continuum of courses?
Depends on their trajectory up through, some may have taken algebra and geometry at the middle school level, which allows for some of those higher level courses as they get up into sophomore and junior year.
And what is tested? What are they looking at on the test?
So, as I mentioned to you, the SAT, they look
Right.
at not only their algebra skills, they also take a look at what they call passport to advanced math, which is the opportunity for them to be able to exceed at higher level math. So as they get into like algebra 2 and some of the trigonometric skills, they also look at problem solving and data analysis, which is a lot of the statistical pieces. So that kind of pulls together and makes up that math subsection score.
Any questions down here? Mr. Koba?
Going back to slide 17 on the growth model, I know you probably presented it last year, but I don't remember. What's that scale score comprised of? Is it a formula of other scores?
No, so the scale score is based on, and they don't really release too much about how they mark correct or incorrect on the SBA assessment, but it's a representation of the raw points that a student earns on SBA, both in reading and writing as well as mathematics.
Okay.
I just have a question about SBA. How is that tested? Is it like bubble sheet test, or is it
No,
like a,
It's all computerized.
It's-
It's an adaptive test that's computer generated.
so open-ended questions?
Could be open-ended, some of they read prompts and they answer questions, but everything is done on the computer, there's no paper
And then
test.
does someone read the test, or does a computer score it?
It's computer scored.
Okay, interesting, because I'm thinking about AP tests and teachers going and doing all the scoring, or various other tests, we all take it. Thank you.
Yep.
I had two questions. Well, first, I did want to commend staff on the results. I mean, they really are, I think, most of them are impressive. You know, certainly there's some work to do, but I'm just thrilled to see that so much of what we've done and supported as a board is starting to show up in these scores. So I had a question about this Connecticut Seal of Biliteracy. Can you just explain one more time the difference between, because I think you differentiated between earning the seal and graduating with the seal?
Yeah, so we actually grant the opportunity for our students to take the assessment, and we've even now started to, as another measure for us to see the growth over time, have started to do it in elementary, 8th grade, and 11th grade. So students can begin to take the assessment as 11th graders. However, they can't officially earn the seal on their
Okay.
diploma until they've completed all their ELA courses. So that's the 4 years of ELA. So
All right, so
it's
the
not
larger
delayed.
number represents the 2 years of kids.
Right, that's students that are on the track in terms of completing the assessment.
Okay. And then I did want to ask, can you give us any more definitive plan on the middle school math piece, or the middle school ELA piece, what you think you might, be looking at to bump those scores up a little? Is it ELA?
Yeah.
I think both.
Math.
Yeah, it's both.
Yeah.
So we are in the process of planning to do a curriculum summit, bringing together our principals, maybe even potentially some of our instructional coaches at the middle school level, as well as our team here, to talk about some of the immediate changes that we can make as we go into the beginning of the fall, and enter into the month of October. So we're in the early stages of planning that out, but we are gonna convene that in early October. We actually have a date on the calendar to plan that this week. But we wanna bring everybody together and actually take a look at the data. That's first and foremost. In order for us to make a truly informed decision, we wanna see where kids are, take a look at some of the different levels of the data, and help us to think about, instructional moves that we can make right away in the curriculum, but also thinking about the actual curriculum, overall, as we go into future years, some of the work that still needs to be done long range.
Because you could actually drill down, if I'm not mistaken, school level even,
Yeah.
what specific strands might need,
Correct. We can see school data, yeah, we can get down to grade level data.
So Ms. Glennon, to expand on that, while we do need to put our eyes on a deeper level on data and ask ourselves what students can and can't do based on the standards represented in SBA, we know we have a new curriculum in place, new resources. So we want to consider what the coherence of that looks like across, let's say, all 6th grade ELA classrooms, all 7th grade ELA. And that's a lot of the work that we've done with a primary focus at the elementary level. We've all heard that we changed the elementary support model from interventionist to a student-focused coaching model. What's interesting here is that the middle school has primarily an old school intervention model. There's a English language arts interventionist, a math interventionist, and one instructional coach. So we're working with our principals to take a look at how do those 3 people work in each building. The 2 interventionists see kids all day. And so what we're likely going to be doing is applying some of the lessons learned from the elementary student-focused coaching model to the middle school as well. We also know that we have room for growth in the area of assessments, some formative assessments, so that we can make instructional decisions on a pretty regular basis with the kids in front of us and not wait till we're here in September saying, hey, we need to take a look at the data. So we need to spend a little bit more time on asking ourselves, do we have the right assessments and do we know the right, do we know enough about the learners who are sitting in our desks right now in our classrooms? So we do have some systems and structures to take a look at. We have been hesitant to touch that at the middle school because our focus has been at the elementary, and well, for those of you who've been around a while, you've understood how contentious that has been. But I believe that our efforts at the elementary, and the data speaks to it, is paying off. While controversial, it's paid off. Yes, room to grow. So now we just need to take and apply some of those lessons at the middle school. So we anticipate, there's a summit day that we're trying to create some urgency around. We have a lot of great educators that will come to the table with ideas. So we're hoping that we can be celebrating some middle school growth this time next year. But we realize there is, and it may not all happen in one year, Ms. Glennon. Like that's the
Understood.
You know, my convocation message was that, progress is not always linear, right? And we're dealing with human beings. And we've also talked at lots of meetings that the place where we believe our kids are struggling most with mental health and stress and anxiety and all that is at the middle school level. So we cannot discount the middle school environment for our young people as well, so.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Irby?
A question on the testing load environment, because I haven't heard that students are being tested a lot. So I was wondering what the testing schedule is. Not what I'm saying is, which is a positive thing. I haven't heard is that they feel as if they're being tested again and again and again and again. So I just wanted to know what the kind of testing schedule was for students.
Yeah, so that's an important point in the fact that we are cautious, making sure that we are focused on instruction and not testing and assessment so much that, we're taking time away from student learning. All of our SBA assessments occur in the spring, and we usually give a few week window. So, it's not something where we're testing students in 4 days straight. They can break up the assessment over a several week window.
And there's no pre-test, right? So they're just taking it the one time?
Right, we have assessments that are SBA aligned that mirror some of the practices on a much smaller scale of SBA that we can give throughout the school year. And those are, if you want to call those kind of pre-tests, they give the opportunity for the teacher to get some immediate data around where the students are, but also give the kids practice navigating the platform and getting used to the types of questions and engaging in conversations with their peers and with the teachers. So those are embedded throughout the year, but no, there's no pre-test for the actual SBA assessment.
Great. And for the growth model, that is not a separate test, right? That is
No.
based off of.
That's a metric that's determined from the SBA administration. So you get an achievement score and you also get the growth score.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That it? All right, thank you very much. Keep up the good work.
Yes, thank you to this team.
Yes.
So, Mr. Altieri, we just want to recognize that we have our instructional supervisors in the room.
Yes.
Individuals who carry the ball in the area of curriculum instruction and assessment to ensure that we're building the capacity of our teachers, we support our kids, and that we have coherence across the system in a lot of different layers and areas. So just want to thank everyone that's with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, instructional supervisors. I'm sure you have a lot to do at home.
Feel free.
Have a great night. Thank you. There is riveting policy, though, before that.
Next.
Thank you, ma'am. So we are going to spend some time, yes, already, on sharing our draft thinking on the 26-27 budget priorities and assumptions. And I will warn you that this is a lengthy part of the meeting. We believe that it's a really important foundation to create early on with the board. We know that you'll have, need time to digest it and get back to us with any questions, revisions, edits. We won't be voting tonight. We'll just be dialoguing. And so, if you will, extend your patience to us. We'd really like to go through this bullet by bullet. Not read it to you bullet by bullet, but highlight it bullet by bullet, okay? So, we'd like to kick off the notion of budget priorities and painting it as a numerical representation of what our needs are in the areas of curriculum instruction, assessment, teaching, learning, the operations and resources that we need, and then safety and security. And so this kicks off our dialogue. The priorities and assumptions create the backdrop for the dialogue of the budget process over the next 8 to 9 months. You can be assured that these priorities are built on the 4 core documents and beliefs that we have here in Milford. We have not swayed away from those. And that is our model for high quality instruction, our equity framework, our vision of the learner, and the developmental relationships framework. Those are 4 cornerstones that establish our guideposts in everything that we do. Mr. Altieri and I will be sharing the air time here and reviewing the priorities with you. So he'll take the first bullet.
So to summarize first bullet, again, should be no surprise, we're continuing to look at strengthening our instructional core, especially across all of the different content areas. In the first sub-bullet, again, looking at our schedule for developing a calendar for our pre-K-12 curriculum and assessment revisions and improvements. A continued focus on our elementary literacy curriculum, making sure that we have assessments that help us to capture where students are as we now have that comprehensive curriculum in place. We want to continue to emphasize integrating in a responsive manner our science and social studies, and doing that through the curation and providing of text sets. As I share with you tonight, we want to continue to look at diversification of our world language offerings, really being responsive to our student interest as well as the labor market. Similar to literacy, doing the same thing with math, and emphasis on our assessments, connections to grade level standards, and skill development. Our work continues around artificial intelligence and the way that we can provide professional learning and supports as well as tools for our teachers to use AI to plan instruction. Alignment of our K-12 science curriculum, again, with the focus of not only content but skill. Our expansion of performing arts, we would love to be able to start to think about theater and stage as part of the arts program offered to our students. And obviously continuing the work around, as you heard Dr. Paris present not too long ago, a long-range musical instrument replacement and expansion plan across the district K-12.
In the second bullet, this really focuses on career-focused learning, especially as integrated through all of our coursework and programming with eyes set on future pathways to ensure students can easily transition into the work world if they so choose, or into post-secondary education to prepare them for a career. We want to focus on getting back to looking at course offerings at the middle school and expanding those course offerings to be career relevant. Continue to expand dual enrollment coursework at the high school, and then refocusing some improvement efforts at the academy by being intentional about developing some project-based learning experiences for that group of students. In the third bullet, we're really taking a look at ensuring that we are supporting at all levels, meaning core instruction and then tiers 2 and 3, for our students who are not being successful with core instruction through continuing to build a multi-tiered system of support, or we call that MTSS. We also want to continue to expand our special education in-district programming so as to make sure we're keeping kids quote-unquote at home here in our schools. And we know that sometimes that requires specialized programming rather than outplacing them in schools outside of our district. We want to continue to invest in data analysis and student assessments and looking at the systems that we might need to support doing that. Right around the COVID years, we received specialized funding through ARPA to offer after-school programming for high school students. Our high school administrators for a couple of years now have asked us to bring that back because of need. That could be opportunities for credit recovery, but also for just additional help for our high school students. And for a couple of years now, we've been dreaming about expanding our summer school experiences to integrate those additional academic supports that our young people may need in the areas of reading, writing, and math, but also expanding it to include enrichment opportunities for more students.
We know that in the first two bullets, the things that Dr. Katai and I have shared with you are not possible without the work of our teachers. So we continue to prioritize ongoing professional learning for staff aligned to our model for high quality instruction. Our work, as I shared with you at our last meeting, will be to continue to grow and strengthen our MPS educator learning system, including our teacher support networks and our student work protocols. Supporting professional learning in obviously reading, writing, and numeracy, partnering with some of the consultants that have helped us to lift this work, especially in literacy. Prioritizing professional learning that is aligned to our model for high quality instruction. Supporting professional learning for student-centered instructional coaching, as Dr. Kataya shared a little while ago. We've had great success at the elementary level and are looking to expand it to a K-8 model this year, so bringing it up to the middle school level as well. And then we're always looking for ways to continue to build teacher capacity at the secondary level. Obviously looking at the role of our department chairs and also opportunities for instructional coaching that may arise at the secondary level.
The next bullet is important to pay attention to because it does indicate a change. I'm likely proposing in the 26-27 budget that we reduce kindergarten class sizes to no more than 18. I've talked to this board and the public for a couple of years now that we are seeing a changing nature of our incoming 5-year-olds. That they have less of a command on executive function skills, that they are not regulating as we experience some of our babies from years before. And we're certainly seeing the impact of young children being on screens prior to coming to school. So where this used to be kindergarten through second grade, a max class size guideline of 20, I will be proposing in the 26-27 school year reducing that class size guideline to 18. maintaining grades 1 and 2 to 20, and grades 3 through 5, keeping that at 23. And of course, during budget presentation, we can share with you what that FTE change would be if it was 23 or 20. I'm sorry, 20 or 18, anticipating that question from you. Moving on, we want to bring to the board and the public's attention once again the need for 21st century physical learning spaces. I know that this board is doing work on the facilities aspect. In the long run, we will see in the assumptions some talk about FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and reinvesting in a replacement cycle, particularly in the world of furniture. And lastly, we will continue to prioritize existing student extracurricular activities and athletics. Ms. Glennon, would you like us to pause now before going into assumptions?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
I do have some questions. Just to preface by saying that this, priorities and assumptions are not meant to be specific. That comes with the budget dollars, but
Books that would be available to students, almost like a classroom library, but it's specific to social studies and science units.
okay, so it's not like a textbook per se.
No,
but
no.
a-
These are actual like reading books
Right,
that
okay.
students would use to
Okay.
connect with the curriculum.
And on the bullet regarding the multi-tiered system of supports, in the second sub-bullet, where I had a question on this, and you did specify that you would be investigating special ed programs for in-district programs. Can we add that,
Yes, ma'am.
in-district, please, because I think that distinction is important.
So we'll just say investigate in-district special ed programs.
Yes, yeah.
And we may even entertain a change of verb there.
Okay, yep. And then the next bullet, the first sub-bullet, I'm wondering if there's, in reading the sentence, it just seemed awkward to me. So continue to implement the MPS educator learning system to support educators sharing best practices. So is that to support educators with an apostrophe, sharing best, or support educators plural?
We'll rewrite the sentence.
Okay. What is it meant to be? To support,
Well, there's a part of the learning system that allows for within department, within grade, across district sharing of best
so
practices.
to support their allowing of
Yes,
sharing, okay,
yes,
all
yes.
right, I just was having a hard time with that. And then in the bullet on providing 21st century physical learning spaces, so I just have a concern that this is kind of being a little bit conflated with this capital improvement plan. So if you could be a little bit more specific on that, because the sub-bullet, expand district-wide investment in upgrading facilities through long-term planning, I mean, that's really, it's one thing if you're talking about having, like a long-term plan of furniture replacement or something like that, versus actually upgrading facilities is really more CIP related than operating budget related.
Yes, and, I'm trying to think through my and. Could long-term playground upgrades be a general fund?
But this would be
item?
things that we would be paying for in the operating budget though, not,
Yes. Okay, so, we will change this to ensure that the language points at operating budget.
yeah, consistent with that
Yes.
versus the CIP expenditures, which wouldn't belong in this document.
Very well, we'll, but we still wanna focus on physical learning spaces and all that.
Right, correct,
Okay.
yep, I get that, so, any other questions on priorities? Move on, okay, move on to the assumptions.
So members of the board, in your package, you'll find the first reading of the 26-27 budget assumption. At this time, Dr. Katai and I will highlight and elaborate on the key components of this. After we review this, we'd be happy to take any questions that we have. Just one more mention about this, I just wanted to put out there that These assumptions are based on a significant amount of research and collaboration with our consultants to make sure that we have the best information moving forward to develop these
At this point.
at this point. And then we added in this intro at the beginning here to this year's assumptions to help frame some of the thinking and considerations that lived at the forefront of us through the development process of this. So this year, our budget process is being shaped by a unique and challenging financial landscape. While we will meticulously plan on the current data and the known revenue streams, we must also acknowledge the significant uncertainty surrounding future economic conditions. Unpredictable factors such as inflation, potential shifts in state and federal funding, and rising operational costs present difficult to predict financial constraints. In consideration of these factors and conditions, we are highlighting the following. So that's an intro that we added this year. This first bullet here is very similar to many of us. It discusses the increase in costs. Many of us have experienced this with some of the strains in our own personal lives, and the school system is not immune to these factors. So we will continue to navigate as best as possible as we plan for the 26-27 budget. This next bullet here discusses the state has been examining the amount that they are providing to cities based on some of the funding formulas. And they have determined that there are certain cities that are underfunded and certain that are overfunded when we're talking about the ECS, the Education Cost Sharing Grant. Milford happens to be a city that has been considered overfunding, so that's something that we're keeping on our consideration. For fiscal year 27, there is no plan in place to reduce that, but that's something to just keep on the horizon. In addition to that, there's also uncertainty in educational funding at the federal level, which has created a potential for reductions in our entitlement grants. However, we do not have information as of yet that will definitely have an impact on our general budget, but we did want to bring that to your attention.
In the world of enrollment, the 25-26 enrollment has remained consistent with 24-25, but it is lower than what we projected. We did not get the kindergarten bump that we were anticipating based on the change of kindergarten start date. We do plan to add some FTEs into the 26-27 due to the changing numbers, particularly at the elementary level, to maintain class size guidelines. But we do anticipate enrollment remaining fairly stable. Sorry, I think instead of saying added full-time equivalent, we might need a different verb tense there. I just self-corrected. When we are considering the negotiated settlements for bargaining units, we have typically leaned into the percentage range that is 2.25% to 3.75%. But current bargaining trends are coming in significantly higher than that. So we do need to prepare for higher bargaining percentage increases coming in. Additionally, we are looking at a minimum wage increase that will be reaching $16.94 per hour as of January 1st, 2026. So we will be preparing for those salary differences in the 26-27 school year.
As the board is aware, we are currently engaging in the next phase of our long-range planning work. While many of the expenses and costs that will go with that might impact the capital improvement plan and our bigger picture, there may be also some possibility for funding that's needed to take the next step in that work. So we wanted to call that to your attention. This next bullet here discusses health insurance. And health insurance is always a major consideration in our budget process. It is early at this point, but the city health insurance consultant is predicting that we will have a 25% potential increase in our health insurance costs for the 26-27 school year. So we will keep in regular contact with them and look at these prediction as we move closer, but that's currently where we're at. Some of the factors that are driving this are rising healthcare costs, prescription drug costs, and changes in market and the inflation.
This budget assumption specifically talks about aging furniture, as I was stating in the priorities. We'd like to develop a regular cycle of replacement and upgrade for desks and chairs throughout the system. We have some furniture that is diminishing in condition and therefore posing a safety concern. But also in general, we'd like to engage in a replacement cycle that brings in developmentally appropriate and furniture that meets our student learning needs and environments as related to the current year, 2026. Additionally, in the world of special education, as we do each year, we are planning for those anticipated and unanticipated costs that we face in the world of students with special needs. We always have students that will move in. We have students that are tested throughout the year. So the 26-27 budget will include an anticipated 15 to 20% increase in both tuition and transportation costs.
This next bullet talks about exploring technological and operational systems and platforms to ensure that we have the most effective and efficient tools. These upgrades will help decrease cybersecurity threats, improve performance, and support growth and innovation. So the current Windows-based teacher laptop fleet is aging, causing a need for a replacement cycle. This next budget assumption discusses our commitment to evolve and support the modern classroom and think about how we can equip our educators with tools that are needed for mobility and decentralized instruction. This next section discusses the purchase of an uninterruptible power supply, a UPS, which can provide immediate power in the event of some type of disruption. This really keeps our systems up and running, stops things from power surges and fluctuations from impacting our equipment, and also allows us to maintain continuity through a safety concern.
This next assumption continues our participation in the SRO program and our long-standing relationship of contributing 50% funding to this program, assuming that the city continues with their 50% share. We'll also be considering the 26-27 school year, as we've already talked about with this board, our regular practice of continuing to review any need for additional layers of prevention and their impact on the 26-27 budget. We will be considering other viable options to continue to maintain the secure learning environment we already have and any additional layers of security we may need in the upcoming school year.
This next bullet discusses the anticipated need of a 15% increase in our utility costs. I think it's important to mention at this time that that's not necessarily the commodity that we are increasing on, but for transportation fees, it is something that we're seeing a sharp increase in lately. This next budget here, this next bullet discusses associated services for contracted maintenance. These are things like boilers, sprinklers, pest management, HVAC maintenance, and other crucial areas that are keeping our buildings running smoothly. There is a sharp increase in this lately, and we are seeing and projecting the need for a possible 20% increase in this area.
Year after year, we face rising legal fees, costs that are related to just the continued complexities and challenges that we face in an educational setting. So we will be anticipating an increase in legal fee line items. The next assumption continues our work in digitizing our files. While we were very successful in the talent management development department, we now will be moving and accelerating our efforts in the pupil personnel department to digitize some student and former student records as well. And there are legislative requirements of how long we keep records for students, which are excessive in many cases, so we will likely be moving to digitizing most of those files. And finally, as we do year after year in building a budget, we always roll our budget back to zero. We believe in a zero-based budgeting approach, and therefore we'll always be looking for efficiencies in every single line item as we build on the 26-27 budget. We're happy to take any questions about the assumptions, Ms. Black.
Thank you. Let's see, I just want to point out the current health insurance plan is for retirees.
That is correct.
Questions? Ms. Irby?
I know this is supposed to be general, right, and not detailed, but can you, is the UPS something that's for just central office, or is that for like per school type of,
It would be at every school,
at every school?
yeah. It's, our network closets, to keep them up and running, mostly for the network, to keep our communication, cameras, Wi-Fi up and running, to help alleviate disruption in classroom.
Other questions? Mr. Smith?
Just real quick, I appreciate having the budget book, because I was trying to calibrate what a 15% increase in utility costs are, and the fact that in the 22-23 budget, we had $763,000, and now we're over $1 million. So it's rapidly increasing significantly year over year. I don't know what magic you worked between 22 and 23, but maybe you have that magic wand to.
Well, that, were we closed? Was it, no, we were open then, so.
No, but it was.
There are no magic wands this year.
I figured there weren't, but it was just, it is wild to see
Yeah.
how drastically it's been increasing. And there's nothing we can do to do anything with it.
It's one of those things that.
It's out of our control.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. I think we all know.
Shut the lights off for a little while.
But if they're like LEDs, how much does it actually save? Not much, right?
Yeah.
Ms. Doyle?
Thank you. Can you just, I think I understand the education cost share grant. Can you just explain high level what that is for everyone?
Yes, so the education cost share grant is something that the state provides to districts to offset the cost of educating students. So there's a very complicated formula that they use to determine how much each town, each city would receive. And basically what has happened is they are looking at, they've done like a deeper analysis on what each city has been receiving. And what they're trying to do is right set that based on that formula. So they found that they've basically been off for a number of years with each city. So as they are now right setting that, some cities and towns have been overfunded and some have been underfunded. So what they're going through right now is trying to right set that, but what they're doing is a phased in schedule. They've looked at this for a number of years and they've been actually holding districts harmless for the past number of years, and they've actually even delayed it again. Initially, they were going to impact those towns by taking away funding in the 26-27 school year, but that's currently paused. So it's something that they've constantly kind of moved out a little bit, so it's really just an amount of money that the state provides to offset the cost of educating students.
But it goes to the city, it doesn't.
does
go to the
us.
city.
It does
So
go
it's
to
not,
the
it
city.
doesn't supplement our budget.
Right, it's a.
It's
our
their
portion that gives
contribution to
us.
education funding, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
We
If
don't-
you go to the school and state finance project, it is a very complicated formula. There is a part of their website that does a nice job in explaining it.
Yeah, I looked a little bit at it. Just a comment, I appreciate that there are additional bullets in this assumption this year on things like the UPS, on the technology, the furniture, because we've spent a number of years of delaying kind of upgrades, and to say what's gonna happen in the short term, like we still have to think about the present, like we can't delay forever in certain aspects.
Thank you for saying that, Ms. Doyle, because as we were building the priorities and assumptions, we thought, it feels like we keep talking about, oh, we can't do that, we can't ask for that, and so we believe, not that but when you get to certain, prioritizing the priority list, some things like, the furniture drops off, and some of the things you've already mentioned, and even the middle school electives. You know, you're afraid to ask for more because you feel like you're asking for a lot, right? So
But these are
it's
like-
not that we haven't asked, but
But to me, these are what we need to do make our district work properly. I mean, we are so dependent nowadays on having our cameras for our security.
Yeah.
We need to have our Wi-Fi working because it's how we also keep our schools safe in terms of communicating. It's ability to talk to each other, how students work on their Chromebooks and things like that. So if something happens and we lose power, it's a huge effect on the day-to-day learning of students. In the furniture, I mean, you know, there's no guarantee anything is gonna happen, but you can ask the question and we can see what we can do, I think.
And I think, you know, in reflection, we came out with this big push on flex furniture, and it looked cozy, comfy, and it was nice to have. Like, I think it got put into the category of, you don't need that. But we'd like to have a more realistic dialogue around, so, is there a middle place? If we're not doing, you know, flex furniture, we also don't wanna stick around with the 1960s onesie, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I
Right,
know
I'm going
exactly
like
what you
this,
mean.
cause you
Yeah.
know that. And I don't mean the pajama onesie.
I know.
It's not the pajama onesie, but you know what I mean, like, we need to get rid of those.
Right.
And we have teachers that ask us every year through the budget process, can we get the mobile, right on top, the whiteboard top, desks, that you could put them together and you can create a quad, you can create a try, you can create two, you can do rows if you want, and they have wheels on them, and kids can write and think on them, and that's not necessarily flex furniture, you know, the fancy stuff, but it's 2025 furniture, not 1960. And if anybody needs a onesie, a visual of that, we're happy to bring one in next time. Not the pajamas.
In the same vein, I'm remembering, if I remember correctly, that during COVID, we purchased a bunch of furniture and various
Right
other things
before
to-
COVID.
But we had to purchase some
Oh, sorry.
furniture specifically for COVID to keep social distancing and other things that were basically like,
Oh, we bought the cheapy stuff.
right, that's what I mean. Like, what did we end up doing? Did we get, where is it now? I know we were getting rid of it.
Yes, that's stuff that we have in the warehouse facility right now, that we've been looking at, trying to figure out what do we do with this, desks, furniture, long-term. Some of the items that, you know, don't have a long-term need or damaged, then that would be going through our disposal process, but otherwise, we have some of that furniture still.
That's
But
not
still
what
not
we're
great
looking for.
furniture. Still 1960 furniture.
Yeah.
Got it, thank you.
On the second page, let's see, the bullet that starts with the age of current Windows-based teacher laptop. You mentioned decentralized instruction. Can you define that? What would that be?
Yes, so I think that that's more of, you know, when you think of like what we typically have right now, and this is, we still need to explore what that would look like, but when you think about typical instruction, a teacher has like a laptop or some kind of item that they're gonna keep right up in the front of the classroom. Is there something more innovative that we can look at to think of how could we redefine what instruction looks like in the classroom to kind of support that model of teachers moving around and not just someone at the front of the classroom?
The effort in the field education is defronting the classroom.
Right, okay, yep.
So moving away from teacher being at the front of the room and there's the desktop.
Yes, teachers.
Having something a little bit more mobile.
Something more mobile.
Okay. And then what I see is not included here, which I think it's, you know, to be transparent, our transportation contract, we would not have the same bump that we had last year.
That is accurate, yes, we're locked into a steady 4% increase.
Okay.
You want us to write a bullet on that?
Well, perhaps it might be, you know, tying it into the, you know, while we're estimating a 15 to 20% increase in tuition, special ed tuition and special ed transportation costs. I think that needs to be, you know, that became a topic of confusion last year, that the special ed costs are separate from, so I think it would be fair to include
Okay.
something about the transportation.
More the second year of a contract, it's 4%.
Any other questions?
Ms. Glennon, we just ask that if there are thoughts, because, you know, this is a lot to
Yep.
consume, you send them our way through you.
Yes, please, because what we would do, this would be treated kind of like a policy, we do it in 2 readings, so that it would come back onto the October business meeting for adoption, so that administration can, because they, at that point, they will be getting to, I think you probably already started a little bit, getting to work on their budget work. And this is what, as she said, you know, creates a backdrop for them. This is what drives and informs the superintendent's development of her budget based on the priorities and assumptions that the board gives her.
Yeah, we hit go on October 1st. That's
Okay.
our day one of budget building.
Very good. So any questions that might come up between now and, say the very beginning of October, please send them along. And then we'll have this back on our agenda at the business meeting.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
We're gonna move on to policies.
Riveting.
I think deep down inside you believe that.
Well, it is the basis, it's one of the most important things the board does,
Yes,
so.
ma'am. We're actually going to hand things over to Mr. Brennan first. We do have a required change in the non-lapsing 3171.1.
Thank you, Dr. Kataya, Ms. Glenn. So this first policy here, Budget Administration, Non-Lapsing Education Fund, Policy 3171.1. This policy was originally created in 2012, and over the years, there's been some legislative changes that have changed some of the different subcategories within it, but this one here is gonna be updating the most current legislation that we have from this past summer. So, some of the things in red here that I really wanted to highlight was this third paragraph area here. And before I jump into that, I would like to make a friendly amendment on this and just strike the first sentence in red there, the any expenditure from the non-lapsing education fund shall be authorized solely by the Board of Education, because it's really kind of redundant that it's in that previous statement right there, that previous sentence. So this part in red here really highlights the main components of it. It talks about the requirements of it and really outlines that main guideline. So first off, it's deposited not to exceed 2% of the budget appropriation for the education year. Number two, each expenditure from the account will be made for only education purposes. And three, each expenditure shall be authorized by the Board of Ed. So those are really, that's the crux of the changes for this upcoming policy here. And as the board may remember, this next section here really required you to have the non-lapsing fund, if you were to utilize it, to tie it really mainly to the capital improvement plan and really emphasize what you were going to be spending that money on. So now they've changed that to make it for educational purposes. Some of the other changes that we have down here are that the Director of Finance for the City of Milford does not need to do this, but the Board of Ed shall direct the Assistant Superintendent to create this non-lapsing account. It will still remain in compliance with all of our generally accepted accounting principles. The account will be subject to our annual audit. All of that information will still be very similar, except that it's really on the Board of Education through our business office to keep that up to date. This next section here, which is in the bottom there, really focuses on the reporting aspect of this. And it's requiring us to compile a report on this and submit that report to the State Department of Education and also to the city. And in that report, you need the total balance, the amount deposited for that fiscal year, and any expenditures in there. And then finally, this last sentence, while it's not a legislative requirement, we thought it would be a good reporting practice to demonstrate full transparency to include this amount on our quarterly budget report, so that it's just, it felt like a normal place to kind of include that information for the board to examine. This time, I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
I have a lot of markup, sorry.
That's right.
So I wanted to point out, I noticed that you made a differentiation of putting in parentheses BOE, and I was thinking you did that. Normally, we would say the board. That was the Milford Board of Education, very first sentence,
Yes.
parentheses board. I was thinking you might have done that to differentiate from the Board of
Correct.
Finance.
Yes.
Correct, that's
So
exactly.
I would rather, I understand that, and that was a good point. I'd rather see you spell out Board of Education though, because putting BOE, that kind of breaks from our normal practice. So wherever you have BOE, I'd rather see you just say the Board of Education.
Sure, we did that at the beginning, and then we put the BOE.
Right, I would get rid of the BOE in parentheses throughout and just say Board of Education.
Sure.
So drop the Milford.
No,
Or just keep-
the Milford Board of Education.
Right, but
eliminate just-
throughout the document, do you want it to say Milford Board of Ed or?
No, it can say the Board of Education
The
throughout
Board
the
of
document.
Education.
So I think that, but I understand why you wanted to differentiate.
Right.
And let's see, okay, you struck the first sentence. When I looked at that whole center red piece, it's all redundant actually, because it repeats what was in the sentences. So I think you could get by, and I'll see what my other board members think, by saying any, in black, any expenditure from the non-lapsing education fund shall be authorized solely by the Board of Education. Each expenditure from such account shall be made only for educational purposes. And that's all you need to say, because bullets 1, 2, and 3 are redundant, I think.
No, they're not.
Well, it talks about the 2% above. It says that each expenditure shall be made for educational purposes only. It just said that in the sentence. And it says each expenditure shall be authorized by the Board of Ed. It says that in the first sentence. So I think 1, 2, and 3 are all redundant.
So
To what-
just keep the first paragraph?
Well, you have the first paragraph is there,
And
and then the next paragraph would be any expenditure from the non-lapsing education fund
Okay.
shall be authorized solely by the Board of Education. Each expenditure from such account, which is the red line, shall be made only for educational purposes, period. And then, how, does any, I
No,
think
it's fine.
1, 2,
You
and
can,
3 are
you can
redundant.
stop after
then.
purposes, period, after
So you can get rid of
educational
those,
purposes.
the 1, 2, and the 3.
Yes.
And then, so the actual technical name for this is the non-lapsing education fund. Is that a state term, or a term that we've made up, or,
That's what it's been on our policy.
okay. So can we be consistent calling it that, like, just as an example, at the bottom, each fiscal year, the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operations shall compile a report regarding the non-lapsing education fund. Can we be consistent calling it that throughout?
Yes.
And,
That's how it's referred to in statute.
yeah. And then, and in the paragraph above that, where there's a strikeout, the Director of Finance of the City of Milford. So that would say the Board of Education shall direct the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operations to create. Now, I'm confused here, because I thought that the account's already been created, or is there one account that sits there, whether it has money in it or not?
So there is an account that's created on the city
The
side.
city side, so we're gonna create one on our side, or?
That's correct. We're gonna create
Okay.
one on our side for our books.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure if we could do that or not, so that's,
Mr. Brennan has checked with the Director of
Yes, I
Finance.
spoke
Very
with the
good.
Director of
Okay.
Finance, and
all right, then that clears that up for me. That's all I had. Anybody else have any? Ms. Doyle?
Thank you. In the first sentence, the Milford Board of Education may authorize the deposit. Who's depositing the money? You, as Assistant Superintendent for Business or Operations?
Yes.
Okay, can we add language there, authorize to deposit into a non-lapsing account any expended funds?
So may authorize the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operations?
Yes.
Is that inherent in the Board of Ed shall direct the Assistant Superintendent to create the non-lapsing account and be responsible for the accounting of the funds in accordance?
I think that the top refers to it actually authorizing the deposit of the money like we did this spring versus creating the account.
Right.
Okay, so, okay.
Any other?
Another question I had. This is annoying, I know, what I'm gonna say. Educational purposes. What does that mean?
yes. So,
The definition.
so in the research, and I actually looked at this,
Because we know Megan Doyle.
no, because that was something that, in previous legislation, it was very specific. You had to call out the specific
CIP.
reason, and you should really try to tie it to something in the CIP. So for educational purposes, the way that that's interpreted is really things that are through our educational budget. So things that are kind of out, like, things that we are not otherwise budgeting for, but things that have come up. And it gives us really kind of a broad stroke of things that we need for operations and for our students to run our
So-
organization.
AI, in summary, the legislation states that the savings are to be used strategically for educational goals.
So basically, you can't go out and buy like a Ferrari for the district.
Yes,
But
I
you
don't think that would.
You could buy a truck for the district to do like snow plowing or whatever. Something that furthers our educational goals
Yes.
that we may need in the future, that we may come up.
The-
essentially.
Yes, the goal, the central goal of what they were trying to accomplish there was opening up the flexibility for the Board of Education to decide what they need to help move the district forward.
Okay.
It
And the
was
nice
meant to
part-
provide more flexibility, sorry.
Is that we will be required and would obviously engage in behavior that will be completely transparent. That this is how much is in the account, this is what we've spent it on, and for what reason.
And likewise, it
There
would
are
be the
some-
Board of Education that would.
Yeah.
There are some districts that I've learned through my chair's listserv that intentionally put money into this account every year
Yeah.
as a, like an undesignated fund for them, like the city has. We've never been able to have one.
Because we've typically taken our surplus, that's not really surplus money, and used it on grounds and maintenance. I'm using the
That's
word
not surplus.
It's not,
Right.
that's what I mean, it's not surplus. And anyway, we've under budgeted in those areas
No,
specifically
no,
with the
no.
production, that if we have money, we will use them for grounds and maintenance.
Well, last year, we strategically used
Right.
good business and finance sense with rising special ed costs that were just rolling. So I would not call that a surplus.
No, I don't think it's a
That was
surplus.
good business sense on our part. And hence, when we felt that we were getting to like May 1st and we knew that we possibly wouldn't be getting any large tuition bills, then we reprioritized and sent and used it primarily with your authorization on building and grounds. So that would probably be a better way to characterize that.
Right, because you're basically taking the free, in that case, we did freezes on certain accounts and moved the money into the non-lapsing account. Is that what you did last year?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Not specifically.
Not
No.
specifically.
No,
What we put into
We
the
didn't move-
non-lapsing account last year was the money that we set aside for
For
the
the RFP.
long-range planning.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's what we
Okay.
did.
Okay. But the point I'm making is that we generally have no money left at the end of the year because we spend it. And we spend it, if we have any money from, maybe we were able to find some efficiencies through across the year, we put it in grounds and maintenance, where we typically have under budgeted over time.
All right, so just to depict that historically a little differently, if that's
Yep.
okay.
Sure.
I think at one time this board did engage in more end-of-year redirection of monies. But at least in my tenure here, I think there's been less of that because we have been very tight on
Right.
utilizing a zero-based budgeting process. So I think if we go back in the history books, I don't know that we've done as much
Correct. I don't think we have-
redistributing.
That's correct.
Last year was different because we were headed into a special ed financial black hole. And so we hit the brakes very quickly to make sure that we were gonna be okay. So last year would be an anomaly.
Okay.
And hence, you marry the fact that we have not had end-of-year spending, is how I like to call that, along with tight budget years, and hence we have reduced the building and grounds lines to the point where we have not been spending a lot on buildings and grounds over the last few years.
Right.
That's a result of that.
I don't have any other questions.
Questions from anybody else? Okay, so that this will come back, so the policies will all come back to the October business meeting for second reading and adoption.
And so Terry's gonna take the next three policies with us.
Next one that's in front of you, board members, is policy 5125, that's student confidentiality. This is a required policy, last updated in 2017, so I'll just walk you through some of the changes to the revised model policy. The policy walks through kind of the federal statutes around FERPA and student record compliance. We have struck out that second paragraph pertaining to the definition of educational records, and the reason for that is if you scroll down to some of the definitions that we have included that are pertinent to the policy, the second definition down at the bottom of page 1 defines now more fully what a student educational record is. So we've added in for the policy definitions of parent, student education record, going on to the top of page 2, school official, and authorized representative. At the third paragraph on page 2, we've just added in a little start there about records being kept for each student. And then on the top of page 3, sub-bullet number 5, we just made some grammatical corrections to the language in that particular statement. So I'm happy to take any questions or feedback on policy 5125.
In that number 5 bullet that you just referenced, I had a hard time following the second sentence because I'm wondering if there might be a word missing. If the district decides that an amendment of the records is requested,
As requested.
if the district decides that an amendment of the records as requested is not warranted, comma, to inform the parent, guardian, or eligible student and advise them of the right to a hearing,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. I think there's a word missing there.
Yep, we'll add something in there.
Any other questions on this one? The language is all relatively required, correct, statutory?
Yes.
Mr. Koba?
Under parent,
Yes.
the definition says it means a natural parent, comma, an adopted. Did you mean to say an adoptive parent, or there seems to be a missing word there? 'Cause
Oh,
then it
that's
just
good,
kind of
yeah.
rambles into
An
or
adoptive
legal
parent.
guardian.
An adoptive?
Up here,
Adoptive.
Yep.
an adoptive parent.
Yep. Make the change.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
I've got one.
Mr. Scobie?
On the first page, the bottom paragraph, the third line up on the bottom, it says compiled by a school officer. I think that should say official rather than officer, since you define school official on the next page. Student records shall not
Yep.
include from, okay.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll make the change there. Thank you, Mr. School. All right, next policy that is.
Oh, just one minor
Sorry.
changes, minor. The Milford Board of Education, parentheses board, so just consistent across all
Oh,
of
right,
them.
at the top.
Okay.
And then, where the first time it's a district, Milford Public Schools, parentheses, district, I think is our usual, typical. In school officials, I think the first use the word district. Or, no, it's
yeah.
not, it's
We don't
above.
have it in there.
So is that the top of 2?
There's one down at the bottom of 1.
Yeah, bottom of one,
I don't know if that's the first time.
I think that's the first one.
Last
It's-
sentence, very last sentence.
And there's a couple of districts throughout that have no capitalization. Thank you.
Yep.
She said what I was gonna say.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay,
Next one.
Okay, next one is policy 6146.1. It's not a required policy, but the last update for this was 1995. So as you can imagine, in the last 30 years, a lot has evolved for a grading system. And it's basically a strike through and replace for the original policy is what is at the top. The new policy now, in that first paragraph, updates the philosophy around grading. I did catch that there is 2 periods at the end of the first sentence, so I'll make the revision there. The second paragraph and first paragraph really get into looking at the relationship between home and school and making sure that's prioritized. I will make a recommendation to the board, at the bottom of the second paragraph, if you could strike through where it starts with the Board of Education shall approve the grading and reporting system up until the end of that period-wise. As you know, we have a policy governance structure, so the administration typically handles these types of approvals, so if you could strike that on your review copy, that would be greatly appreciated. The section on weighted grades talks about the weighting based on level of course, aligned to our board policy around challenging coursework, 6146.11. And the paragraph ends at the bottom talking about how the grade weighting and ranking system is communicated through not only our parent handbook, but our student handbook. On the top of the next page gets into the rank in class and just talks about how class rank is assigned, when it's assigned, and that student transfer grades are evaluated by the principal or their designee. So I'm happy to take questions or comments on policy 6146.1.
Ms. Doyle?
Thank you. Minor again. It is the policy of the Milford Board of Education. Board, students have the opportunity to receive feedback, and the board seeks through its instructional program. I think those should be both board, not district.
Well, I think it's the district's instructional program. The first one, I think, is, I had a question about the first one.
Can you tell us once
Yeah.
again what you think the first one is? We're not following you.
Sure. It is the philosophy of this district, it says.
Of-
I think it
that's
should be,
Milford
is the
Board of Ed.
philosophy of the Milford Board of Education.
The students have the opportunity to receive feedback as to. So the second sentence,
It starts with the district.
that is still district?
I would think so, I don't know.
I mean,
I could go either way.
I can go either way too. Just change it to Milford Public Schools.
Mhm.
I think that would be fine. Thank you.
Are you okay with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Koba?
I got a suggestion on that same sentence.
Sure.
I think it'll read better if you move the district seeks through its instructional program to be at the end. See,
So it would start with to make achievement both
Wait,
recognizable
how did I
and
do that?
possible.
what did I do that? Wait, I have it right here. The district seeks to make achievement both recognizable and possible for all learners through its instructional program. Something to move the through its instructional program. So you're stating that.
I don't know what making achievement recognizable means. Can we revisit that sentence together?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll come back with it.
Other questions? Okay,
All right, and the final policy for you tonight is a required policy, and this is a brand-new policy. It is 6161.14, and it's titled Library Display and Program. Basically, the policy starts with an opening statement that recognizes the importance of library displays. And it also, as you go down into the second and third paragraph, recognizes that a wide variety of displays are there to make sure that students are enlightened, they have information, diverging viewpoints. And then lastly, as it ends, the final paragraph of the policy recognizes the professional training and expertise of our library media specialists who curate and develop these displays and programs within the library.
Ms. Irby?
I had a general question on what makes it, not what makes it required, but what was the requirement of the policy
Legislation,
that said you have to have a library display?
yes, ma'am.
Correct.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we would rely on CABE, our professional organization, to have a model policy
Yes.
that we could look at.
Thank you.
Ms.
Not an
Doyle?
option.
Again, for the first sentence, I would just add, the Milford Board of Education recognizes that library displays and student programs. I think because we're setting the policy that we believe this is important for these goals, and then the district will be able to do all of these things.
We will try to remember that every year, Ms. Doyle, I'm sorry, I'm sitting here, I'm sure you
We
are too,
haven't done
Mr.
policy
Terry.
in a while, so.
I don't think we do.
Thank you, Ms. Glennon, for letting us off the
So
hook.
we'll have to give you a little jump start.
Yeah.
Any other questions? We will consistently now see policy on the agendas, so we have some
Yes.
catch-up work to do.
Riveting.
All right, if there's nothing else, then all four of these will come back at the October business meeting.
And again, if there is any feedback,
Yes.
happy to take it.
Any additional feedback. Public comment, anybody in the audience wish to make public comment this evening? Okay, I'll dispense with the public comment statement, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Any discussion on adjourning? Anybody opposed to adjourning at 8:56? We are adjourned at 8:56. Thank you.